You think she's not into you. You think she lost interest. You're convinced the signals mean she's moved on. But what if you've been reading everything completely wrong? You assume distance means she doesn't care. You assume silence means she forgot about you. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if she's been thinking about you far more than you realize? And here's the strange part. The colder she seems on the outside, the more your presence might actually be living in her head. Stay with me for a second, because this is where things get interesting. Most men completely miss these signs. They walk away at the exact moment a woman's mind is trying to figure them out. They give up right when her curiosity is turning into obsession. But there is one specific signal men overlook, one behavior that reveals everything. And once you hear it, you're going to replay every interaction you've had with her. Suddenly, patterns will appear that you never noticed before. Today, I'm going to break down the hidden signals that show she's thinking about you constantly, even when she acts like she doesn't care, even when she seems distant, even when everything on the surface tells you she's not interested. Because there's a psychological process that happens in a woman's mind when she's attracted to someone but trying to hide it. And once you understand this pattern, you'll never misread her behavior again. But first, we need to talk about the biggest mistake men make when trying to understand women. The mistake that pushes her away without you even realizing it. Picture this. She takes hours to reply to a message. When you run into her somewhere, she acts relaxed, almost too relaxed. She doesn't start conversations like she used to. And when you're around her, she behaves like you're just another person in the room. Naturally, your mind starts spinning. Maybe I imagined everything. Maybe she was never interested. Maybe it's time to move on. But here's what might actually be happening. And this is where everything flips. When a woman feels a strong attraction towards someone, her mind sometimes enters what psychologists describe as defensive avoidance. I know it sounds strange, but stay with me. Women often show attraction very differently than men. When a man is interested, he usually moves closer. He pursues. He makes his intentions obvious. But when a woman feels strong attraction, especially when those feelings scare her, she may actually do the opposite. She creates space. She pulls back. She watches how you react. Why? Because attraction often comes with fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of appearing too eager. Fear of losing emotional control in the dynamic. So her mind does something unexpected. It tells her to create distance as a form of protection. And here's the part that changes everything. The more she's thinking about you, the more she might pretend she's not. Because thinking about you makes her vulnerable. And vulnerability can feel dangerous. So her defense mechanism becomes emotional distance while her mind quietly keeps circling back to you. But here's where things get interesting. There are 7 signs that reveal this hidden attraction. And sign number 4 is the one that confirms everything. But before we get there, let's start with the first pattern most men completely overlook. Sign number 1. She watches you when she thinks you're not paying attention. This is huge. Most men miss it because they're focused on trying to impress her directly. But women are incredibly observant. If she's thinking about you often, she studies you, how you act, who you talk to, how you move through a room. You might catch her glancing in your direction during a group setting. You might notice her eyes follow you across the room. But the moment you look at her, she quickly looks away. That quick look away isn't disinterest. That's the reaction of someone who just got caught. Online, the same pattern shows up in different ways. She watches your stories almost immediately after you post. She interacts with posts from weeks ago. She views your profile more often than you'd expect. Why does this matter? Because attention reveals priority. And when someone repeatedly directs their attention toward you, their mind is already there. But sign number 2 reveals something even deeper. Sign number 2. She remembers small details you mentioned long ago. Maybe weeks ago, you casually told her about an upcoming presentation. Later, she asks how it went. You once mentioned your favorite band. She casually brings them up in conversation. At first, you might think she's simply polite. But here's something important about human memory. Most people forget the majority of everyday conversations within a day, unless something about that information feels important. When someone is thinking about you frequently, your conversations replay in their mind. Details get stored. Memories become sharper. Without even realizing it, her brain starts prioritizing information connected to you. If she remembers things like your favorite food, your sibling's name, or a random story you told once, that's not casual listening. That's someone whose mind returns to you again and again. But sign number 3 makes things even clearer. Sign number 3. Her friends behave differently around you. This is one of the most reliable indicators. Sometimes her friends mention you unexpectedly. Sometimes they exchange looks looks with her when you walk into the room. They might smile or tease her in subtle ways. Maybe one of them almost says something like, "Oh, so you're the guy she," and then stops mid-sentence. Here's why that matters. Women talk to their friends about the people occupying their thoughts. They analyze situations. They share stories. They ask for advice. So if her friends recognize you without spending much time around you, that means your name has come up more than once. You've already been a topic of conversation, which means you're living in her mental world more than you realize. Now we reach the sign that confuses men the most. Sign number 4. She randomly reaches out, then disappears again. This one drives men crazy. She might suddenly send you a message, a meme, a random question, a "this reminded me of you" text. The conversation flows easily. You feel the connection again. Then suddenly, she disappears. No messages for days, maybe even longer. You start wondering if you said something wrong. But here's what may actually be happening. She reached out because the thought of you built up in her mind. Eventually, curiosity won. She wanted contact. But the moment that connection happens, her protective instincts kick in. She starts questioning herself. Am I being too obvious? Does he think I'm chasing him? Am I revealing too much? So she creates distance again, not because she lost interest, but because she's trying to manage her emotions. Psychologists call this approach avoidance conflict. Part of her wants closeness. Another part wants safety, so she does both. She reaches out just enough to stay connected, then pulls back before she feels exposed. And if you watch carefully, those moments of contact often appear right when the silence becomes long enough that she worries you might forget her, which means you've been on her mind the whole time. Now, let's talk about sign number 5. She behaves slightly differently around you compared to everyone else. Maybe she's more reserved. Maybe she laughs harder at your jokes. Maybe her voice changes subtly when speaking to you. She might play with her hair, look away more quickly, or fidget with her phone. These small behaviors are actually nervous system responses. When someone truly doesn't care about you, their behavior stays neutral, relaxed, unaffected. But when someone triggers emotional energy inside them, their body reacts. If she seems slightly more guarded around you than others, that often means you matter more than she wants to admit. Because people don't build walls around someone who means nothing. Sign number 6. She tests you without realizing it. Most men fail this test. Sometimes she casually mentions another guy. Sometimes she cancels plans suddenly. Sometimes she becomes distant just to observe your reaction. Is he going to panic? Is he going to chase? Is he going to get emotional? These aren't always conscious games. They're subconscious evaluations. She's trying to understand your emotional stability, your confidence, your patience. Because if she's seriously thinking about you, she needs to know you're strong enough to handle the dynamic. And finally, sign number 7, the sign that tells you what to do next. When feelings are involved, people rarely express everything clearly, especially when vulnerability is involved. So instead of forcing answers, pay attention to patterns. Trust what behavior reveals over time. And most importantly, stay grounded. Because the man who remains calm, even in uncertainty, the man who doesn't crumble when things feel unclear, that's the man who naturally draws curiosity and respect. If this made you rethink someone specific in your life, comment the word aware below and subscribe. Because next time, we're going to talk about something even deeper. How to turn curiosity into attraction without chasing it all.